Hello and welcome back to Gapeys Garden. Today I thought I would do a fig update. It's been about a month since our last one, and a lot can happen in just 1 month of the growing season. I'll give you an update on how our Braba and main crops are doing, as well as those figs that we did that pretty hard root prune on this spring. There's some good and bad news to share there, so let's go take a look. We'll start by taking a look at our Braba figs. I've only got 2 that have Braba figs on them this year, which is not as many as I usually have. We've got the Vern's brown turkey here underneath this net that my blueberries are in, because I've got a ton of birds out here that just love to eat my fruit. So I've got the blueberries protected. This is a really nice net that's called I think it's called bird barricade, but birds do not get stuck in it like the other netting does. So I highly recommend this netting if you're looking for a good net. I'm going to go ahead and lift the net up so we could get a better look at the fig. This is the Vern's brown turkey, and it's got some pretty good sized Braba figs on it. We've got this one here, and then we've got another one underneath here. So we've got 2 good sized ones, and it's also putting out quite a bit of main crop figs that are getting to be a pretty decent size. So I think it will be nice and safe here under the protection of our blueberry netting. Now, the only other fig that we've got a Braba on is here in the greenhouse, and this is the Vincenzo, and it's just got one Braba there that's hanging on. And this one up here is actually a main crop, though it's almost the same size as our Braba down here. So we'll have to wait and see if that will reach maturity or not, or if it'll drop. But Vincenzo is supposed to be a pretty decent Braba fig producer, so we'll see how it goes. Let's take a look at our in-ground figs now. This is our Olympian, and I have had just the worst luck with the in-ground figs. Even with protection, I had quite a bit of dieback. I think every tip died back on this, so we've got a lot of new growth coming from where it died back. I'm not seeing any figs coming out yet on this one, but hopefully we'll see some. I don't think it even got any figs to maturity last year, and I'm kind of disappointed with this one. I may end up taking it out and planting something else here, but if you have Olympian, let me know what your thoughts are on it. Our other in-ground fig is the Latarula, and it was my biggest main crop producer last year. It produced a lot of figs, and unfortunately it too had a lot of dieback. Every single tip died back, and some of them died all the way back to the ground. You can see there's quite a few shoots coming up from the ground, and I did prune out some of those because there was just too many, and I might take out some more. I'm not seeing any figs really starting to form on this one, so I don't think it's going to get as many figs as it did last year. I'm just kind of disappointed with how my in-ground figs have been doing over winter. Technically, I do have one more fig that is in-ground. This is the Nero 600M, and I really wasn't expecting this to still be alive, to be honest. This is a cutting that I took when I root pruned the Nero 600 earlier this spring, and I had done some top pruning as well. So this is an extra branch I just cut off and stuck in the ground, and that was probably 2 months ago, and it did lose all of its leaves, but it is now putting out some new growth. So I think it may have actually rooted, because we've got lots of new growth coming out of here, and it's even got some growth coming out here at the bottom. So I don't know. I'm very surprised. Now, all these figs here on this side are all ones that I did root pruning on or up potted earlier this spring, so I kind of wanted to keep those separate just so I could keep track of which ones I did and see if there's any noticeable difference in the growth. And I am seeing, I think they do look a little better than the ones over here that I did not root prune. They probably have a lot more nutrients because of the new potting soil that I put them in. So let's take a look and see in a little bit more detail here. So this one here is the LSU Tiger. So we've got quite a few main crop figs coming out on that one, and this one actually has a double figs, and usually when I see that I'll take one out because I don't want them to compete against each other. So I have already done that on a few figs. I must have missed that one. And then we've got this branch here. It's got quite a few pretty small looking main crop figs. The leaves on this guy are really large. They're kind of droopy for some reason. I don't know if that's just a trait of this variety, but it seems more droopy than most of the other figs. We've got 3 branches coming out of one main trunk here on the Robert's Golden Rainbow, and I think this one might have the largest main crop figs of all of my figs so far. It might be a tough choice, but it's definitely got one of the largest, and all 3 of the branches have some pretty good sized main crop. The other one that's got quite a few large ones is the Tacoma Violet, and this is one that dropped all of its leaves around this time of year last year, so it definitely needed a root prune, but it's got some pretty decent sized figs on its, I think it's got also 3 main branches here coming out of one single stem. This little guy might not mature, but I'll leave it on there for now. But we've got pretty good looking figs on that one. Down here is the Black Ischia. I believe this is one that I rooted last year, so it didn't get any fruit last year. I didn't do any root pruning on this one. I just potted it up into a larger container, but it's got some pretty good sized main crop figs on it, so we might see some fruit on that one this year. And then right next to that is, let's see, this is the Black Greek Marius. This one did produce some fruit last year, and it's got some pretty good sized figs on there. This one is kind of small, but the one back here is looking pretty good. This Brandon Street Unknown is another one that lost all of its leaves last year, I believe, so I definitely root pruned this one. We've got a couple little main crop figs on here, not anything that's too big, but it'll hopefully get bigger here before too long. We've just got 2 branches here that's got fruit on it. Here's our Marseille Black VS. This is one of my favorite figs, and it is probably, I think this is my tallest fig that I have in a container. We've got some pretty good sized main crop there on that branch on there, and quite a few on this one as well. So looking really good this year. Here's that Nero 600M that I did some root pruning on, and it's got tons of little baby main crop figs on this branch. And then here is the one, I think this is the one that I topped here and put it in the ground. You can see there's a cut right there on that branch. It was a lot taller than my other branch over here, so I was trying to get them to be kind of close to the same height. And I don't think there's anything growing on this. Oh, there's a few little guys down there. Hopefully they get big enough to ripen this season. Then the last one I wanted to show you over in this section is the Burgessot Grease, and it's got some pretty decent sized main crop figs. This is a kind of a later season variety, so I'm hopeful we might get some to ripen this year. I don't think I've gotten any to ripen yet so far since I've had it, but it's not really that old of a tree, so maybe this will be the first year we'll get some. I did root prune one of my figs that was in a 7-gallon container. This is a self-watering container. And this is the last one that I pruned. I think I showed this one in my last fig update. Well, the pruning did not go so well. It ended up dropping all of its leaves, so I think I probably did it a little later in the season than I should have. So it dropped its leaves, and it is starting to put out new ones, so it's not dead, so that's good. I'm not sure if it's going to drop its fruit, but it does have quite a few main crops that are still on there. This branch only has one teeny tiny one, so I'll probably just take that off because I don't think that one's going to reach maturity. So we'll just let that one be and see if we can get this branch to get some fruit on it. Now all the rest of my figs, there's probably at least 30 something here. I did not do any root pruning or uppotting or repotting on any of these, so they're still in the pots that they were in last year. I probably should have root pruned a few more of these, but it got to be too late in the season for doing that, so I'm gonna have to wait and root prune some of these next season. But I wanted to show a few of these, how the main crops are coming along. This one, I think this is one I rooted last year. It's got a really good sized main crop on it. That one is, see, that's the Black Ischia. So I think I had a Black Ischia over somewhere else too, but this one is doing really good. It's got 2 figs on it. This one is huge. And then let's see, let's take a look at this one here. I think this one is Ronde de Bordeaux. Yep, this one's the Ronde de Bordeaux. We've got a couple of figs on this branch as well as that one. Usually this is a pretty early variety, but the figs are looking a little small to me, so it probably could use some fertilizer. as could quite a few of these. To be honest, I haven't been keeping up on the fertilizing, so some of them might be getting a little yellow. Like this one here is probably in need of some fertilizer. This one is the JFE Black Madeira, which is another one that is a really late season fig, so I don't know that I'll get any of these to ripen. I might just get rid of some of these later season varieties because I just don't have the patience or time to kind of baby them in the spring to give them a big head start. Let's see what else. We've got this guy here. This one's in a pretty large container. This is the Red Lebanese Baca Valley. I didn't get any off of it last year. I think this is its second year, but we do have some fruit on a lot of the branches, and it too is looking a little slightly yellow, so I need to give these guys a shot of fertilizer. Got some more figs on this branch here. Now this yellow long neck here is, for some reason, the leaves on it is really dark green compared to most of the other ones over here that I haven't been giving much fertilizer, so I'm not sure why this one is looking so dark. Maybe it's just the variety, but I don't think it's got any. Nope, I don't see any fig. Oh, I guess there is one little fig coming out right there, but I think that's the only one. Another tree I'm probably going to get rid of is this Stella. I don't know. I might bring it to the fig tasting that we're having on August 10th, actually, in West Seattle. If you're local and interested in attending, let me know. We have a few spots opening up here, so let me know. But this one has never produced anything. I've had it for probably 5 years, and it's never produced a single fruit. It did have some dieback this last spring, even though I had it protected in the shed with all the rest. But there's a lot of new growth coming out of the bottom here, but it's just not really doing anything. And I've waited long enough, I think, for that one to not give me any fruit. Here's another Ronde Bordeaux. This one is older and in a 5-gallon container, and it's got some larger figs than the other one I showed. So I think this one may get some figs reach maturity, but it probably could use a root prune. I did a mild root pruning on it last year, but I think it could use a hard root prune like I did on the figs earlier this year. This one here is the Smith. It had one Braba fig on it in the spring, but it did drop, so it does have quite a few main crop figs on it here. And the leaves on this one do look pretty green and healthy, so kind of like the other fig I was showing you. Much healthier and green looking compared to some of these other figs that are over here. I was really looking forward to hopefully getting some fruit off of this one this year. This is the Brown Sugar Crunch, and unfortunately it's not getting any figs on it yet so far. So I don't know that we're gonna have any to taste this year, but maybe hopefully next year. I do have a second Brown Sugar Crunch in a little bit smaller container, and I think we do have one little fig on this one. So I don't know if that one's going to get to maturity, but we'll see. This one here is the LDA, also called Long Out, but this one has longish shaped figs. So we got quite a few on this one actually. We got 2 branches that are pretty loaded with little baby figs. We might get a few of those to ripen. I did get a couple of those off of it last year, and the birds also got one of them. So I need to figure out some way to protect these from our birds. I've got quite a few more than I did last year that might be producing figs. We do still have our Florea in the greenhouse. This is the one, if you remember from my last update, it was taking forever for this one to wake up. So I got this from a friend, and the way he stored it over the last winter was above ground on a shelf outside, and it seemed to not like that because all of his trees that he stored that way over winter took forever to wake up, and some of them didn't even wake up. The weird thing is that there was no top dieback on this fig tree at all, but it just took forever for it to wake up, and now it is finally awake, and all of the branches are alive and doing well. I don't know if it's gonna produce any fruit this year, but at least it's not dead. I think the last one I wanted to show is the Desert King. So I did have one of these in ground, and it just kept dying over winter even while protected. So I decided to try with the new one. So I got this one from my friend Anthony, and we've got some little baby figs on it. It didn't produce any Braba figs. I think it might have had one or two, but they ended up dropping. So the main crop figs here do require pollination. So this is a variety that requires that fig wasp, and we don't have those here. So these are highly unlikely to reach maturity and ripen. I was planning on planting this in ground this spring, but I did not do it. It's still fairly small, so I might wait one more year before I attempt putting it in ground. It does have a couple of big branches coming out from the bottom, so I need to figure out what I'm going to do with this one. I was planning on kind of splitting this in half and making kind of two trees out of it, but I don't know if it might be too late in the season to do that. I just can't decide if I should do that this year or wait till next year. Let me know what you think and what you would do. Do you think it's too late for doing that kind of work on a fig tree? Let me know in the comments. I almost forgot to show you my one remaining fig cutting. So this is the St. Martin. It's not doing great, but it's still alive. It's actually producing another fig there. This one is the main crop fig. I think the one it was trying to produce earlier was a Braba fig, if I remember right. But the roots are not looking great. It does look like it's growing some new roots. You can kind of see there's some white ones in there, but a lot of the roots ended up turning brown. But I don't know, it might be making a comeback because I'm seeing a lot of white roots now that weren't there not too long ago. So I haven't given up on it yet, but it could be doing better. Well, I think it covers all the figs I wanted to show you for this update. I do have more. I didn't go over every single one because there's just too many to share, but I think I covered the highlights, and I will do another update maybe next month. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.